Hello, I'm WP Suazo, and I'm here to talk to you about consumer and producer surplus. Before we begin, I just want to mention that the area of a triangle equals its base times its height times 1/2, because after all, a triangle is half the size of a rectangle. A theme that we'll drive home today is that taxes are paid only by those not escaping them. Okay. So let's take a look at this graph here on the left. What this graph depicts is many things. So we have a demand curve and we have a supply curve. If there are two supply curves, you can assume that any policy is initially being directed to suppliers. If we're here to talk about taxes, taxes have never enhanced any market. Taxes only push things back. So the tax that we're going to apply here is pushing back the supply curve. We have one demand curve, which I shall label right there. Okay, 8 units are the sales when the item is tax-free, and 6 units is the number of units that sell when they are subject to this new tax. Okay, we keep on going here, looking at this graph. If 8 is a tax-free quantity, then $44 is the tax-free price. Regardless of whether it's taxed or not taxed, what we have to look at are the reservation or choke prices. Here is the $40 supplier choke price. What does that mean? It means that at $40, the suppliers are willing to bring none to market. Conversely, the $60 choke price for the demander means at $60, everyone quits. So the first thing you can see here is that of the range between $60, the demander choke price, and the $40 supplier choke price, we have a $20 range. And the $44 equilibrium price is not exactly in the middle. There's only a $4 difference between the tax-free equilibrium price and the supplier choke price, and there's 4 times as much, or $16 difference between the original tax-free price and the demander choke price. So what this means, the important message from this is that the demander of the value coming from this product, 80% goes to the demander and only 20% to the supplier. So if the government is considering a ban on this product, maybe it's vaping products, whatnot, the consumer gets 80% of the value and the supplier only 20%. Maybe the suppliers can be involved in selling something else. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. Before this new tax is introduced, let's see. This area right here represents consumer surplus. Consumer surplus are the extra spending monies that consumers get away with, hence surplus extra. This triangle is the consumer surplus. This triangle down here underneath equilibrium is the producer surplus. Let us try to measure that. So, consumer surplus is bound by $60, $44, the original equilibrium price, and 8Q. The area of the consumer surplus is $64. In essence, there's $64 worth of spending money that demanders are willing to spend, but they get away with because of this, this wonderful market. Conversely, producer surplus equals 8Q. If consumers are buying 8 units, producers are making 8 units. If they are paying $44 without a tax, the producers are collecting $44 without a tax. But now we input the supplier choke price. And $16 is the producer surplus. You can see that the consumer has much more at stake. If we combine them, $80 combines for society surplus. The government letting this product exist or transact, there's $80 worth of surplus that is allowed to happen. Okay, now what are we going to do? We are going to tax this item. We are going to tax this item. The tax is charged to the supplier. It's left at the supplier's doorstep. You can see that because the supply curve is pushed back, but that does not matter. To whom a tax is billed means nothing. Taxes are paid by those who cannot escape them. To whom a tax is billed doesn't make a difference. Taxes are paid by those who cannot escape them. If we look at the original equilibrium price, what's happening now is we have a wedge that's building up between what people pay, what consumers pay, and what suppliers collect. And as you can see there, the tax equals 48 minus 43. The tax equals 48 minus 43. We have a $5 tax. Now, the most eye-opening thing is this. Of the $5 tax, of that $5 tax, only $1 is conceded by the supplier. The supplier adds a $1 discount from the old price. Of that $5 tax, 4 of it is paid at a $4 higher price to demanders. And that tells the whole story right there. So we have a $5 tax being multiplied by how many units? Not 8, because taxes depress markets. Taxes have never enhanced any markets, times 6. So we have $30 in tax revenues. Now let's take a look at the new consumer surplus. So the new consumer surplus is consumer surplus prime. We still have a $60 choke price. We still have a $60 choke price. As I just mentioned, now only 6 units are changing hands now with the tax being applied, and demanders are paying 48. So here we have a triangle that is 12 tall, 6 wide, times 1/2. So now consumer surplus is only $36. Their consumer surplus is almost cut in half by this tax. That is amazing. Even though the tax is billed to the supplier, the consumer bears the brunt of this tax. Producer surplus prime. Producer surplus prime is, well, 6 units are still being made. Their choke price is still $40. But they are only collecting 43. So here's a triangle that is 9, here's a triangle, pardon me, that's only 3 units tall, 6 units wide. 3 times 6 is 18, half of 18 is 9. Forgive me for jumping the gun. So we have 9, 36, and 30, so this is 66 plus 9 is 75. We have $75 in value that is accounted for. We used to have $80 in value in this market or surplus when it was tax-free. Where has this $5 in missing value went? Well, let me label this graph. Consumer surplus prime, producer surplus prime, tax revenue. What looks like the arrowhead here is called the dead weight loss. Dead weight loss. This is something no one gets. It goes to no one. Dead weight loss. And dead weight loss is the sales loss times the tax times 1/2, because after all it's a triangle. So the tax is a $5 tax. It has cut down 2 units. It has eliminated 2 units. So 2 times 5 is 10. After all, it is a triangle. Half of 10 is 5. So now we've accounted for everything. Now we've accounted for everything. We can account for every last penny. Every last penny could be accounted for. I hope this is cleared up producer and consumer surplus. There's a graph. Please freeze the video if you need to transcribe it. The last thing I'll put in is this. The original consumer surplus was this whole area. And the original producer surplus was this whole area. I hope that has helped. Thank you for watching this video.